Hi guys, welcome to Binaryhood. Today we'll create an iOS application that calculates your body mass index, BMI. BMI is a method to understand your weight, how underweight, overweight you are, and how healthy you are. So it's the perfect way to start your iOS development. And in this video, we'll learn a lot about iOS development. We'll learn the difference between structs and classes. We'll learn how to create your own views, how to align the views, how to use stacks, how to use segues, transitioning from one screen to another screen, such as multi-app screen. And we'll learn a lot in the video. So let's start coding. And just to give you a background, if you're using Windows or any other operating system, you won't be able to tag alongside the video. So you need a Mac because Xcode is only available on Mac. So I wanted to give you that information. So let's start coding. So what you need to do is open Xcode and press on create a new Xcode project. Once the screen is open, you need to press on app because we're developing an application. So under iOS, press next. We're going to name our application BMI Calculator. So calculator, and you see this organization identifier. This is the identifier, a unique identifier for every application. So for me, it's com.binaryhood.bmi calculator. It's when you see a website www.apple.com, this is the opposite, com.binaryhood. This is a unique identifier. So for interface, we're going to use Storyboard, and for language, we're going to use Swift. The reason why we're using Storyboard because this supports legacy. So this supports all the iPhones that are available in Xcode. Swift UI is quite new, so we're gonna do Storyboard. We're gonna do Swift UI in later videos. So leave these unchecked, these core data and include tests, and let's press next. And we're gonna create this application on our desktop. You can choose any to your liking. And once you press create, it's going to create your application. And let's do a tour of Xcode. So Xcode is a quite pretty neat editor. So these are the general properties, and let you know about the identity, minimum deployment info, how you're going to deploy your application, your name, categories. So we're going to leave that for now, and we're going to go to this app delegates and scene delegates. These are two files that you don't need because this is only used for runtime, and this is the controller application. We're going to use this a lot, and this is the main.storyboard. This is the view. Currently it's just empty, so we don't know anything. We don't have anything, so we have to create everything from scratch. And these are our asset folders, well, the views where we have images and everything, the app icon. So currently this is also empty, and the launch screen, this is when the application launches, and just the single page or that comes along. If you have seen apps such as Facebook or Instagram, they have their logo firstly when they launch their app. So we're going to do everything from now. So what we're going to do now is download our views. So views, I've created our custom UI. So I've already shared the repository in the link of my YouTube description. So the repository is on my GitHub channel of Binaryhood. So let's go there and download the repository. So this is the repository. What you need to do is download it from here. And once you have downloaded, just follow alongside me. And what we're going to do now is open this BMI resources, and these are our resources. So what we're going to do is copy them, and once you've copied them, go onto your website. Basically go onto this is the link. This is also in the description. We need this link basically. Why is we need to create an image set that is 1x, 2x, and 3x, because Xcode basically needs the images of up to 3x, because once you zoom these images when you open your app, sometimes your image is so small because it gets pixelated. So for these issues, Apple has created their own image sets so 1x, 2x, and 3x. And there is an easy website that you just need to go there and basically drag and drop these images, or you can basically select from your open folder, and just like that you have all these images over here. What it's going to do is it's going to generate your image set, and once it has generated, you can see it in the Finder and lay it out over here, and open this set and delete this zip file. So we have our images. What we need to do now is basically create our app icon. So this is an easy way to learn how to create your app icon. So you would need to have your own image, and you need to just drag it over here, and this will do everything for you. So you need to select which section of the platform you are using. For us, we're going to use iPhone and iPad. We're not going to create a watch OS or Mac OS application, and it also provides Android. So we're going to select these and basically generate our app icon. And once our app icon is created, we're going to see it in the Finder and basically lay it out over here. And now we have our app icon. So we are done with this website, and we're gonna just move it out of our screen. So what we need to do now is basically open this iOS folder and open these side by side. So you're gonna use your asset folder, and once you come here and you drag and drop these into the iOS. So this is one way to learn how to create these images, and another way is basically doing it manually. So for our app icon, we're going to do it manually. Just delete this because this is already in your repository now. So for the app icon, what you need to do is go into the folder of app icon and open your BMI calculator. Go into your asset.exe assets. So once you see we have these app icon, so what you need to do is move to trash and just lay it out in here. So this is an easy way, a manual way you can say, to bring down. So yeah, so now we have everything in our Xcode related to our views. So you can see these are our app icon, and it do the layout for us by it automatically. And these views are already layouted in the application. So let's go onto our launch screen and basically create our launch screen firstly. So we're gonna go into this plus icon and find a thing called image view, and just drag and drop. What we're gonna do now is basically, so now when you see this image view, so I'm just gonna give you a quick overview what's in the bottom. So this is basically the closer, and these are the attributes. So view, safe area is in the iPhone X and the series that are above iPhone X. So this is a safe area where the application has these boundaries. So, and the image view is this. So, and we can choose our phones, what we want to do. So currently I have iPhone 13 Pro, so we're just going to keep that, and we're going to select the image from here. If you see, we're going to select the chart. So what we're going to do is, now when we do this, the image goes down. When we flip it to landscape, so it just goes down and it doesn't align to the screen. And so there is a good way to do, so there is an easy way to do this and align. We're just gonna select this image chart, and we're going to press horizontally in container and vertically in container. What it does is it aligns the image horizontally in container in the middle and vertically in the middle. So now when we move it, it just is in vertical. And if we even go into night mode, it basically stays there, or it doesn't do anything. And we can check into the other screens too. So it just basically aligns itself to the view. So now we're done with the launch screen. Let's just go into the main.storyboard. So the main.storyboard is the main deal. So what we're going to do is do the same thing, press on the plus icon and find the image view. What we have to do now for this one is basically take it to the edges, just to the edges, not more. So you see, just to the edges, as you see on my screen, and basically press on the image on the right hand pane and select your background. So for now, for us is this screen, so the blue screen. And what we need to do is select another thing is we want to do aspect fill, so it fills the screen, not just basically fits the screen, so it will fill. And now we need to align. So let's see in the landscape how it does, but it wouldn't fit properly when we do on iPhone SEs or anything. It doesn't. It for now. What we need, another thing is basically align this view. So we need to align this view 0 from the top, 0 from the left, 0 from the right, 0 from the bottom. So 0 means like it is just glued to the sides, glued from the top. So that's the 0. So you can see add 4 constraints. So we already have our constraints now. So now we're good to go with this view. What we need now is to import the labels and the sliders from here. Apple already provides us some views, so we can take benefit for that. So we're gonna import the view, import the label, and Apple gives you this line. This is the middle line. It lets you know you're in the middle. So what we're gonna do is drag and drop over here, and we're gonna name this label BMI Calculator, and we're gonna select this to be, let's say, dark gray color, and basically we're gonna select this to be bold, and let's say we're gonna name it BMI Calculator, right? That's what we discussed. So BMI Calculator is gone here, right? And yeah, 30 seems fine. And we're gonna basically select our own font. So we're gonna do custom, and I'm gonna select copper plate, and yeah, copper plate. And what I'm going to do is, you can select any font you like to your adjusting. And now what I'm going to do is import a slider. So this will be used for our weight and height, to select our weight and height. So Apple basically provides us with the sliders. And I'm going to tell you how to copy and paste another slider, just not do press on the plus button. So press on this slider and press Command D, and it's just gonna paste another slider. So that's an easy way to copy and paste in Xcode. So yeah, that seems fine. And what we need now is our label. So this will tell us our weight and our basically height. So another way to copy and paste the UI is press the option button and keep holding the option button and just drag, and do not let go of the option button, and just now let go of the keypad and keep holding the option button until you let go of this, and then it will just paste. So you need to keep holding the option button till the end, right? And now we're going to do the same. Option button, hold the option button, let go of the trackpad, keep holding the option button, and now let go of the option button. And let's press Command D to just remember how we did that thing earlier with the UI slider. And let's press on the button. Let's find a button, sorry. Press on the plus button and find the button that we're going to calculate our BMI. So let's just lay it out over here, okay? So what we're going to do now over here is basically call it calculate. So this is the attribute pane, these three keys. This lets us know the font, how to design it basically. So let's type calculate, and we're gonna basically change the background of this to let's just do a custom color. So a custom color like something like this. I think that's not to my liking, so you can change and play around with it. So or something from colors like these. That's a little darker, and we're gonna change a little bit to find our liking. So a little lighter, yeah, that seems fine. So you can play around, and what we're gonna do is basically do it like this, and we're gonna change the color of the, so that's in the foreground. We're gonna use a white color, and we're gonna change the font basically. So we're gonna use a system color, and we're gonna change it to calculate. And now we have our view as you saw in the video. So we're gonna change these labels, but now for initially we will just keep it the same, and what we need to do is basically change them to dark gray color, and do the same for those two too. But now, as we have these views, you see if we go onto the iPhone SE, these won't fit because the screen is so small and it shrinks, and we need to align it so it fits properly. So what we need to do is use stacks. So stacks is an easy way to basically fit your screen to different sizes. Stacks basically adjust them and basically aligns themselves to different screen sizes and also in landscapes. So what we need to do is basically select this label, and embed them in a stack view over here. So, and from your right you can see that there are two ways to make a stack. So a vertical stack is like this, and a horizontal stack is side by side. We were going to change these to equal spacing, and let's just do this to a 0, and let's just so we're gonna change this one. We're gonna give this a height of a 60, and for the stack that we created, we're also gonna give it a height. So let's just see the height, set the height to 21, and let's select this label and this label, and basically embed them in a stack view. There is another way to embed them in a stack view. If you go up in the editor and embed in stack view, we're going to do the same, equal spacing. So the distribution is how they distribute themselves, so equal spacing, and the spacing is basically how much space is there in between these two labels. There is currently 274 space, so we're going to do it 0. That's why they come side by side. And distribution is fill equally, equal, center, fill. So these are different ways. We're going to come back to this. And alignment is fill, center, how you basically position them on the left, on this middle. So these are different ways. And we're going to give this stack view a height of 21 too. So let's just give this a height of 21. And we're going to give this UI slider a height of 60. Lastly comes our button, and our button will have a height of 52. So now what we're gonna do is select the BMI calculator, select the stack view, select the horizontal slider, select the stack view, select the horizontal slider again, and select. So now we have selected all of them, and now we're going to embed them in a final stack view, all of them in one stack view. So this doesn't look good, as you see, and this doesn't look good any, but we're gonna change these properties now. We're gonna change them to fill, and we're gonna change them to fill proportionally. So, and we're gonna change the spacing later on. So let's just press on the stack view, and basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna, as we did with the image, 0 from the top, 0 from the left, 0 from the right. Now as you can see, it's 16 from the left, minus 8 because the image is so in the image, so it's gone far the right side, so it's minus 8, and 1.33 from the bottom. So we're gonna do it 0 from the top, and this is from the safe area basically because it does the nearest neighbor. So we're gonna do 0 from the safe area, 0 from the left, 0 from the bottom, and 0 from the right. And let's see how it does. So now when the alignment is done, it glues from the left, from the right, from the top, from the bottom, but it's not perfectly done. We need to change some properties. So once you select the stack view, as you see, we have fill proportionally, and the spacing is 63. We need to change some of the properties from the constraints. So if you come and see this bottom.stack view, so you see we're using super view.bottom. Super view is after the safe area. So what we need to do is select the safe area, and we need to do it equal and stack view.bottom, but we need to change this constant to 0. Once you press 0, it will come into the safe area. So we're gonna, the top is okay. The top is stack view.top equal and safe area. So that's really, that's okay. But we need to do the trailing is our next part. So come on to the trailing. So we need to do super view.trailing, but we need to do it respective to margin. So as you see, it's equal, and what we need to change is the property 0, and as you see, it comes to the side. We're going to do the same with the leading side, stack view.leading equal, but we need to change this to super view.leading, and we need to change it to the margin, and we need to change this to 0. So as you see now, it's basically looks a lot neater. So we can come into the constraints and see what's going on. So that's really handy. So as we did over here, because sometimes it doesn't recognize us in the alignment, but we can change it manually, but still it doesn't look really good. That's because the spacing is really a lot. So we need to change the spacing. to, let's just come to 10. I would suggest, yeah, 10 is really good. But as you see, this BMI calculator, this is not aligned as we see in our thing. So what we need to do now is we're gonna change this later as we bring the lines to 2 lines, so BMI on the top and calculator on the bottom. So firstly, what we need to do is change these labels. So let's select the weight, and now it will align itself. Basically, we don't need to do anything. So, and let's give it 100 kg as a start. We're gonna tell you why, and let's just select this one as our height, and this one our label as 1.5 meters because we're gonna select in meters. Let's come to this one. We're gonna give this a value. So in the sliders we have value, so a value that is the default value when the user basically launches the app. So we're gonna give it 100, and the maximum value will be a 200. So as you see, this was 100, this goes to the full, so we need to change this to 200 and this will come in the middle. So yeah, that's it. And we're gonna change this minimum track to a little different color, minimum track, and the thumb pin to the same color. So you can select this custom color, this one, as I have done it. You can take a screenshot of these 3 RGB and have the same one. We're gonna do the same with this one, but we're gonna change the value to 1.5 and our maximum will be 3. So this one comes in the middle, and we're gonna select the same color and the same thumb pin. So this looks a lot like the other video. So not the other video, so the image in the that I showed you guys. So let's start developing and let's start coding. So now once our view is done, so yeah, let's go into this section and press on assistant. So this is basically a good way to basically code while your view is in the middle and your code is on the right. So the controller is basically linked with this view. So this view controller is linked with this view main.storyboard. So what we're going to do is basically create some links from the from our main.storyboard. So we're gonna select this thing and press on control, keep holding the control and drag and drop from here, and basically say this is our weight label and just have the same UI label. This is an IBOutlet. In Swift we create these IBOutlets and basically change these labels when we want to change these labels programmatically. So these are IBOutlets and there are IBActions that we're going to come later. So let's do the same with the height. So we're going to press control, keep holding the control and let go of your mouse, and basically we're going to say height label and connect, and now we have our connection between our height and our weight. So now what we need to do is basically connect our sliders. So when we're gonna create IBOutlets of our sliders. Firstly, we're gonna create IBOutlets of our sliders. So we're gonna say weight so this is our weight UI slider. So name it as you can name as perfectly, so you can use it later on stage and you can understand, and someone else who's viewing your code can also understand it. So weight UI slider, and as you see when we're naming it, it changes the name on the left. So this is really handy from Apple. Press on control and drag and drop, and basically name it height UI slider. And once we are connected, so yes, so now these are just labels that are going to give us values, or we can change something. But once the value is changed from the slider, we need to know when the value is changed, so we can change the label text and height label, so we can change and show it to the user that the weight, what is the weight, current weight. So that is done when we create an action. So this is basically when we use it as a type of UI slider, and we can say weight slider, so weight slider, and we can do the same with the height slider. So press on control and we can say height slider. So, and don't forget to change this type to UI slider, and leave the properties rest, as there are other properties touch up inside. So those are when the button is pressed inside or outside. So leave them to default and press on the calculate. We're going to create an action button. Press on control and leave it button pressed. You can say we're going to use camel casing over here, so the P will be capital, and don't forget to change it to UI button. Touch up inside, there are many other things you can see, touch down, repeat. We're just going to do when the button is pressed inside the blue button and let go. So now we have our actions. So let's do some coding over here. So what we need to do now is basically create our change our labels. So change our labels programmatically. So we're gonna change our weight slider value. So let's go let and value. So we're gonna use let. In Swift there's let and var, so variable. So it's just same as JavaScript. So let is basically when you when you don't want to change the value, and variable can change often, so let cannot be changed. So we're gonna convert this value into int. So we're gonna change this to sender. The sender is our property, so this will give us the property of the value of the sender. So sender.value. So we have now, but we need to change the text of this label that we connected, as you see. So once we see that, weight label dot text is equal to, we're gonna change it into the string, but we're gonna use some code in this. So to use code, we have to use the slash and the bracket, and we're gonna use string because we want to stringify the int. So we're gonna use string dot value, and just at the end you're gonna append kg. So and nice and easily that is done. So this error should go away. So yes, and let's do the same with the height, but with the height we have to use it another way. So I'll teach you another way. Let value, we're gonna round the value to 2 decimal places. So round it off. So do sender.value, multiply it with 100, and then divide the rounded value with 100.0. So this will round it off to 2 decimal places. And height label dot text. So I just want to show you another thing. Height label. So once you see height label, so these values are the same. Height label dot text or color. You can change these values also programmatically with the code, the font. So you can change anything with the code once you have a IBOutlet of that label. So height label dot text. So the text is, as we did the earlier way, slash. So we're gonna use code inside. So we're gonna use string, and we're gonna use the value, and we're gonna use meters in the end. Now we have our height label.text, weight label.text being rendered when the slider is being changed. We need to calculate the BMI once the calculate button is pressed. So the formula for BMI will be, BMI formula is weight divided by height squared, and height will be in meters. So let's just get hold of our weight value. We're gonna use the value from weight UI slider, and we're gonna go into the value of weight UI slider, and we're gonna get the height of the height UI slider, our value, and then we're gonna just do the formula of BMI is equal to weight divided by, and we're gonna use a function called POW meant by power as provided by Apple. We're gonna just give it the height, and we're gonna give it 2 as square the height, and we're gonna print it in the console when we run it in our emulator. So I'm gonna choose iPhone 14 Pro from here, and you can choose any device, and I'm gonna choose iPhone 14 from here so I can see how it looks. So it looks like this, and once we run it, it's gonna run in the emulator, and it's gonna build first, and then it's gonna run. And once the build is succeeded, it's gonna just run and launch the screen. And first it's gonna launch the launch screen that we created in the start, and then it's gonna launch main.storyboard shortly after the launch screen. So we're gonna change the value of the weight and see if the weight is being rendered. So the weight is being rendered over here, and you can say it's being changed, and you're gonna see the height. So I'm gonna calculate my BMI. So my height is 1.86 meters, and I'm gonna get my weight. My weight is 86. So I'm gonna calculate my BMI. So my BMI is 24.98. That's about right. So now what we need to do is basically display this result on another screen when the calculate button is pressed. So we have to display the results to our user and show them their BMI and an advice text based upon their BMI, and show a BMI chart that we have on our launch screen. So let's create another view and just press on the square button and get rid of this bottom one and press X on this. So now we need to create another view controller. So to create another view controller, we have to do something the same like we did before. We just have to press on the plus button and search for the view controller. So we're gonna drag and drop, and once you drag and drop, just align it over here and press on the plus button again and get an image view, and basically we're gonna do the same. We're gonna go to the edges of it, and we're gonna line it to the same and open the right hand pane and basically select our image, the flip one, and basically we're gonna use it to aspect fill the same as our view controller over here, and we're gonna align it 0 from the top, 0 from the left, 0 from the right and bottom. So we have names from top, bottom, leading, trailing. So we're gonna do add 4 constraints, and now once we have added 4 constraints, we're gonna get a label, and the label will basically be our 24.0, let's say, will be our BMI, and we're gonna do it bold over here, and we're gonna make it bigger so you can see basically. So you can see the results basically, and we're gonna change it to, let's say for now we're gonna change it to green. So, and now we need another label. So the label is basically and advice. Let's say I'm healthy, you're healthy and fit. Oh, my bad. You're healthy and fit. So align it in the middle and basically choose a light version and just give it about 20 points. And now we're gonna get another image view. This image view will be our chart that displays. So now it's pixelated, it's just so small, but we need to change it. So what we need to do now is add another button. So a button to recalculate, basically. This button will recalculate and we're gonna give it a background of white the same as that, and we're gonna give you the background, the color of the text white, and we're gonna give it a blue background same as that, and we're gonna just give it a height of 52 and a width. We're gonna take it down. So let's create stacks as we mentioned before. So stacks are an easy way to adjust your views. So embed these two in a stack view and embed this in a stack view of its own. So it's just gonna pixel out now. As you see, now we can't even see it, but embed this in a stack view of its own. I know it looks really bad now, but we're gonna change it and we're gonna embed them in a stack view of their own. So now if you see, it looks a little different, but if you can see, we're gonna do fill, we're gonna do fill and fill, and let's just basically select this stack and do horizontally in container and vertically in container. But we have some problems over here. So this stack is fill, so we need to do it in center. This stack is now in center basically now. Let's go in this. We need to do it in center. It's already in center, but now this one isn't. Oh, so fill, and the button is really big, so we need to change its height. So we'll change it with the adjustments. So now when we do flip it, so you see there is a lot of difference, but that difference we need to change it. So we need to give spacing, as we mentioned before. We need to change the spacing. So we're gonna change the spacing to so they come nearer. So once you see now, as on my stack, I have a spacing of 114. So now when you see, it looks a lot better. So we can change the height of this button to about basically 52. From here we can change as much as you want, and we can also change the font. From here we can change regular, custom, system, and then we can basically change about 20. So 20 is good. So now once we do it, it looks a lot better. So, and we can see on different sizes how it looks. So it looks a lot to the edges, so we need to do something about that. And so we need to do something about that. Once we select our stack view, so our stack view, we can give it some of the basically 20 from the left, 20 from the right, and let's see how 26 from the left, 28 from the left and 28 from the right, and let's see how it does to that. So, and let's see now on the other screen. So it looks a lot better now. It just stays 28 from the left, 28 from the right. So, and you can see your constraints from here too. So these are the stack views constraints, 28, and you can see the leading side 28 and the trailing side 28. So you can change your sides from here. So now once we have our views, so we need to transition from one view to another. That's basically called segue in Apple iOS development. So a segue between one screen to another screen. So that's basically transitioning. When you press calculate button, it will show your results over here and open another screen. To create a segue, we need to basically press on this view controller, press on this button and press control, hold the control key, and basically just drop it over here. And we're gonna show basically present modelly. So just show the screen the results like this, like a screen on top of a screen. So that's how we have to do now. So we can change these from our properties inspector. So over here, so we can change same as destination. So we can change from here if you want to. So we're gonna name this segue is show results. So once we have our segue, we need to basically create another controller that's going to control this view. So for this view, basically we have our view controller, as you can see over here. So this view, but for this we don't have anything. So this gives you just like random view. So we don't have any file. We need to create a file. So this is a good time to basically create folders and divide sections in our project. So what we're gonna do is, this is our view. So I'm gonna basically new group from selection. So I'm gonna name this view. So I'm gonna create a hierarchy for model view controller MVC pattern. So so now when you come over here, press on the BMI calculator and create a new folder. We'll name it model, and we'll add the files into the model later. But now the view model is left, but firstly we need to change the name of this view controller, because over here if you come and you see, so this view controller is, the name is really random, so we need to change the name over here. To change the name, you just need to come over here, click over here and right click and press on refactor and rename. So Xcode will automatically pick up references with this view controller everywhere and just change. So we're going to change it to BMI view controller. We're going to rename it, and we're going to go into the main.storyboard and see if the name is changed. So let's see. So BMI view controller, and the name is changed. And if we press on our assistant, let's see if it opens up. Yeah, this opens up. So now what we need to do is create a view controller file for this view controller. So there's an easy way to do that. It's just create a new file, press Coca Touch class rather than Swift file, and press next. So this Coca Touch class is a view controller class, and you can basically add subclass to this class. So we're going to use UI view controller, and we're going to name it result view controller. So this imports the UI kit, everything, and prepares everything for you. So yeah. let's go, and basically add it into the BMI controller. Yeah, just this BMI controller, and create. So this file is added to here. So we're gonna basically group these two later on. So for now, just leave it to rest. And let's go over here into the main.storyboard in our views, in our main.storyboard, and basically open up this class and open up this right hand pane and press on this button and type result, and it's going to automatically pick up the result view controller and link it up to our result view controller. And once we open up our assistant, it's going to automatically show us the class of our view controller and BMI controller. So we're going to randomly switch up. So now what we need to do is basically link up the IBOutlets. So let's open up the label, press Control, hold it up, and basically BMI label, we're gonna name it BMI value. Actually, that sounds much better. And this will be our, we're gonna select, hold Control, and we're gonna name it advice label. Advice label, and there we go. And now finally we'll just make a IB action. So press Control, hold it, and link it up and say recalculate pressed, and just select it as a UI button. So for now, our IBactions and IBOutlets are linked. So we'll go back to our BMI view controller, and basically now what we need to do is perform a segue from this screen to another screen. So what we need to do is basically, when we're gonna, rather than printing, we can perform a segue. So a segue is basically transitioning from one screen to another screen. So we're gonna say perform segue, and it's gonna come up with these two parameters, with identifier and sender. So the sender is this BMI view controller, so we're gonna just do self, and this string, so we're gonna change this string, but the string that we're gonna give it is, if you remember, we created this segue, you remember, and we gave it a name, and this name was show results. So we're gonna use this show results name, and we're gonna just paste it over here. So we'll just see what happens when we perform a segue. So let's run it and see what happens. So it's gonna run. Let's just wait for it to build. So now it's launched. So we can basically choose any weight, anything. So we're not gonna print any BMI, but we're gonna perform a segue. So look, it looks like this. But once we press recalculate, it does nothing, and it doesn't show any results. So we need to show the results. To show the results, we're gonna use the model folder, and let's just do that. So what we're gonna do is, in the model, we're gonna create a new file, a new Swift file. So that Swift file basically will have our properties of our value and the advice text and the color. So we're gonna use, let's go over here, and firstly we're gonna create a struct. So a struct, so I'm gonna define you what a struct is. So a struct is another way of defining a class, but in class we have inheritance. So in struct, rather than just having inheritance or anything, Apple prefers you to create structs and basically create your variables and define them over there. You don't even need to initialize them because struct does it by default for you, and class, it removes these inheritance properties for you. So in classes you have this inheritance and more properties. So struct is easy to run and is much better than classes. So we're gonna use struct. So we're gonna name let value. So we define our values like this, and we need to name the type of the value on the right hand side. So, and for now we're just gonna do it like this, and we're gonna do let advice text, and we're gonna name it as string because this is a string. And we're gonna also want to choose a color for our text, for our value of our BMI. So we're gonna use color, and we're gonna use it as a UI color, but it's gonna give us an error because we haven't imported the UI kit that UI color uses. So we're gonna import that, and the error will go away. So now we're gonna use this struct in another class. So we're gonna create the BMI calculator, basically where we will calculate our BMI, because we're gonna hide away the logic from the controller. So we're gonna pass it to model. The controller will get the values and pass it to the model, and model will calculate and pass it back to controller, and then controller will give it back to the view. So that's how MVC pattern works. So we're gonna create a new file called Swift file calculate BMI, or we're gonna just say calculator BMI, or we're gonna calculate BMI is perfect, sorry for that, and calculate BMI. And now we have calculate BMI. So in this file we're gonna first of all import the UI kit because we're gonna use BMI, and we're gonna create a struct again. So it's better to name the struct as the same as the file. And we have calculate BMI. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna define our BMI type. So BMI and a BMI type, but we're gonna list it as an optional. So an optional is a value that you're not sure is gonna be defined or not used, so we just keep it as optional. So we're gonna create a function called func calculate BMI, which we're gonna use in our BMI view controller. So we're gonna use it as a we'll have our weight, and we'll use it as a type of float. We're gonna use a height, and we're gonna use a type of float again, and then we're gonna create the curly braces and open the function. So this is how you define a function in Swift. So what we will do is we'll take the BMI value, and we'll basically get the calculate the BMI from this. We're gonna take our weight property, we're gonna divide it with the power as we used the function in our BMI view controller before, and we're gonna pass it height, and we're gonna give it 2. Now once we have our BMI value, we're gonna check it against the BMI scale. So the BMI scale is basically a person who is underweight, heavyweight, overweight, obese, and they have their own BMI scale. So this is the BMI scale. So the BMI scale, we're gonna create if and else conditions relating to the range of BMI. So let's do that. So if the BMI value is less than 18.4, so that means the person is underweight. So we're gonna create a new object of the BMI that we have in the BMI, and we're gonna create a BMI object. And as you see over here, we have float, string, and UI color. So for the value of float, we're gonna just give the BMI value, and for the advice text, we're gonna, because this person is underweight, so we're gonna tell him to eat eat more fish and chips. Yeah, we're gonna say eat more fish and chips. So this person has to eat more fish and chips to get to a normal weight. And for the color, if we have to use, we're gonna come out of the function, because this is a problem in Xcode that it doesn't run the color literal. So we're gonna do color literal, and we're gonna do the side bracket, and it just comes for the side bracket, I meant this one, and it will just give us a color option. Double tap on that and choose a blue color, because a blue color means he's underweight, and just copy that and paste, so it will just give you RGB green color. So that's what I meant. So now we're gonna, let's see what this, why is it giving us an error? So it's giving us an error because the function, we cannot change the BMI value, because a variable cannot be changed from an outside function when we're going to change it. So we have to mutate this function. So mutating means this function variable BMI value will be changed. So we have to change BMI. So this will get us fixed. So we're going to come to the second category, which is the healthy weight. So we're going to say else if BMI val is less than 24.9, less than or equal to 24.9, that means it is a normal weight. We're going to create a new object is equal to BMI, and we're going to name it value and advice text. So for the value, we'll just give it BMI val. For the advice string, we're going to say you are healthy and fit. And for the color, we're gonna choose a green color, so a little bit darker, yeah, like this one. And we're gonna just paste it over here. We're gonna do else if BMI val is less than or equal to 29.9. We're gonna categorize this as overweight but not obese. So we're gonna give it a value of BMI val, and we're gonna advise him hit the gym. Actually, we're gonna give it eat less fish and chips. And we're gonna give it a color of yellow. Double click, and a yellow color is like this. I chose this color, this one. So you can just copy it, Command C and Command V. And else we're gonna basically say the person is obese. So we're gonna do BMI, we're gonna choose value advice text, we're gonna, in the float, we're gonna just give BMI value, and for the advice text, we're gonna say hit the gym. And for the color, we're gonna choose a red color. So a red color means that is danger, and we're just gonna remove this image. And if you didn't get how I did the color part, so let's just get rid of the error. If you didn't get the color part how I did the color literal, you need to press the hash key and color literal and open bracket, and it will just give you this image, and press double tap and you can choose the color, or you can choose the any other color from the section and you're good to go. So let's just remove it. But now what we need to do is we need to create getters to get the values. Let's create the getters now. So I'm gonna create a function called get BMI value, and we're gonna use a return type of string. So we're gonna change it to 2 decimal place, so 1 decimal place. So we're gonna change it now. Let's see how we change it. So we're gonna create let BMI string, and we're gonna do string. We're gonna use a format. So format is basically, we have format, we're gonna give it a symbol of %, dot 1f. So this is 1 decimal place, and the value that we're going to change is BMI value, BMI dot value. So this optional is basically because it's not sure if there is a value, so this will basically give us an error. So it's gonna say we're gonna change it automatically, so this exclamation mark is retelling that there will be a value every time when this function runs, so this will go away. And this, or we can basically give it a default value of 0.0 if there is no value. So, and it's saying we're not returning any string, so we're gonna return a BMI string, so that's the error will go away. And the second function that we're gonna create a getter for is the get color. So we're gonna get the color, the return type, you guessed it, it's a UI color property, and we're gonna return the BMI question mark dot color. And lastly, we're gonna get the advice getter, get advice. So, and this will be a string. So once you get used to writing code in Swift, it's really easy to use Swift. So Swift is a really good language. So this gave it, oh yeah, we need to give it an optional value. So we'll just give it an optional value of a default value of gray. So let's say gray, yeah. And let's return our advice to be BMI dot advice text. And let's give it a default value of no advice. This is just for an exceptional case, but yeah. So the errors will go away. Now we already have our calculate BMI, our BMI in our model. And now let's go to the results view controller and create the variables for our view. So we're gonna create a BMI value variable that we're gonna change once our view loads, and this will be a type string, and we're gonna keep it optional. And we have our color text, and we'll use it as a UI color, and we keep it as optional. We'll have our advice text, and we'll just name it as a string, and we'll keep this as an optional. So what we need to do is basically, now we need to change it once our view does loads. So we'll just change this to BMI vals because they both have the same name. So we need to do something basically, so to get a hold of these values in our BMI view controller, so we can basically pass the data from our model and to this view controller. So there is this thing that result view controller gave us when we created it. It says in a story based application you will often want to do a little preparation before navigation. So this basically prepares, so we can pass the data from BMI view controller to result view controller with this piece of code. So we're gonna just copy this piece of code and go into BMI view controller and basically create this function over here. So once you've copied and pasted over here, just keep it over there. Now what we will do is just remove this BMI, because we already have our function defined in another class called calculate BMI. Calculate BMI. So this calculate BMI. So what we will do is basically create a variable of this class, of this struct, in our BMI view controller. So let's just create it. So we're gonna create a variable because this is gonna change often. So calculate BMI, and we're gonna give it a class of BMI. So now we have an object over here. So what we will do is basically calculate BMI variable dot calculate BMI. In the weight, we're gonna just pass in the weight, and in the height, we're just gonna pass the height. So this will basically create the objects whenever the button is pressed. Now we need to prepare it. So now we need to do a little preparation to pass these data back. So we have the object and we can get hold of the getters that we created, get color, get BMI value. So we just need to pass them down to the results view controller. So what we would do is we would create if our segue.identifier is the name is show results, then only we will just prepare, unless we won't prepare for anything else because we need to do this. So let's do the results view controller, results VC, and we can say is equal to segue dot destination as result view controller. So this will basically get us the hold of these variables, BMI val, color text, and we can basically assign them values before we transition from one screen to another. So let's do that. So we can say result VC dot BMI value, BMI val is equal to our calculate BMI dot get BMI value, result VC dot advice text. So we just need to check is advice text and color text. So equals to calculate BMI dot get advice, result VC dot color text. So calculate BMI dot get color. So this errors will go away. So now we obviously have prepared. So let's go into the results view controller, and when our view does load, when our view is run, so we're gonna type BMI value. So our BMI value dot text is equal to, because we already have given them values when we prepared, and we say advice label dot text property is equal to advice text, and we're gonna change the BMI value color property. So when we want to change the color property to the, so we're gonna do text color is equals to color text. So now we have already prepared, but we haven't done the recalculate button. So when the recalculate button, we have to dismiss the screen. So we can use self.dismiss, so it will dismiss itself. So, and we can say true animated, and we want to complete is as we want to use completion nil. So this will basically get us a whole, remove the segue, so remove the view resolve view controller and go back to the BMI view controller. So let's just run it and see if our application is running. So let's just run it. So we have done all the things. So let's go 1.85 1.86. So it gave me you're healthy and fit. So see, it's changing, but when we press recalculate, it's gonna go down. So let's just go down a little bit, and it's gonna say eat more fish and chips. So let's go above 124, it's gonna say hit the gym, and let's just go 88 a little, so it's gonna say eat less fish and chips, and the color is the band, so green being the most fit and red being the most least fit. And when we press calculate, so the application is done. But so once we go into night mode, as I mentioned before, the application won't be able to display some colors properly, so we need to adjust our views to night mode. So this is the last part of the video, so let's just fix the night mode. And firstly, what we need to do is we'll fix this BMI calculator also, so because it's not looking properly well. So we need to add 2 lines over here, and we need to basically add space, and we're gonna now increase the font to 35. That looks much better. So now once you look at the view, this view doesn't look properly well, the advice goes away. So we'll fix that first. So let's fix our advice. So we'll choose basically a dark gray color, maybe even darker than that. So I'll manually select, maybe I'll just select, yeah, that's it. I'll choose a dark color, and when I go in dark mode, it won't basically disappear. So you can choose any color, basically any black color, but just don't choose any system background color or any default label color, because it changes when the background, when it goes into night mode, it automatically Apple shifts the black into white and white into black. So don't do that, just choose a constant color. And for these, we'll change the view basically. So let's do that. We'll create a color set over here. So right click and create a color set. So for any appearance, we're gonna choose a system gray color, but press on show color panel and just adjust it's a little darker and a gray, hint of dark and gray. So yeah, and for the dark mode we'll have white, just as you see over here. And yeah, and let's go back into and also press on this one and create any or dark. So and open your BMI calculator and go in your assets.exe assets folder and go into blue dark image and basically copy it and basically just wait a second, press on any light and dark, and firstly what you need to do is press Option, keep holding Option, again hold Option, and basically drag and drop. So what it does is it doesn't do properly, so keep pressing Option, keep pressing Option, keep pressing Option, and basically remove this one, remove this one, and go any or dark, so and remove these three. So now we have any means white and dark mode is this one. So now we have our color set, and we have our blue for a moment I said like this confused me. So let's go back on our main and change the properties of these. So with our color that we selected, so go in our color, and same for the stack. So weight label, choose the color, same for the second one, choose the color, and do it for the height also, and for the meters displayed. And I think once we now do the night mode, it will adjust itself. Look, so it looks much better, and it renders itself. And now once we run it, we'll see the results. So it looks like this when you run it, but let's go into night mode to see if it's working properly. So let's go in developers, dark appearance, home, and let's go back, and voila, it works properly fine. So if you do your weights or anything, and yeah, voila, it works really well. So that was it, guys. It was really a perfectly fine application that we developed as a body max index, and it was a pleasure making this video. So please like and subscribe if you liked the video. I would be making more videos soon, and just subscribe and hit the bell icon to subscribe for any news that's going to come from Binaryhood channel. So a really thank you for sticking along this video, and this was the first video on Binaryhood channel. So please subscribe and like. I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe that button. Please subscribe. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.